So welcome to our very first rural cafe. And this rural cafe is pretty much like speed dating with 77 students and 19 farmers.
Speed dating with a group of farmers, that sounds like it could go anywhere.
I think it's a good opportunity for students to ask questions to a producer directly that maybe a media outlet wouldn't necessarily answer to the full truth that they would be looking for.
Didn't really have any expectations. I didn't know what to expect.
I like talking to the students. I like talking to other producers. I like sharing what I know and what I love to do. And I love to hear the enthusiasm that I get from the students.
I expect it to be just like talking to neighbors almost.
No, we're excited today to kind of connect with some of the students and discuss what we do on our farm.
Just being able to have a conversation and share like coffee over somebody rather than just being lectured. I think it'll be a cool learning experience that way.
So I grew up in small town Saskatchewan where the local cafe was where people got to meet each other. Some people interviewed for jobs in the rural cafe. And that was a long time ago, so I wanted to bring back that atmosphere of somewhat informal, but also with coffee and cookies, a chance for people to sit around the table and actually talk in a two-way communication way as opposed to in a classroom setting.
To be able to see our students interacting with so many people from various parts of the animal agriculture industry in Alberta, it was very cool.
I know for any urban kids or even our international students, this is going to be a great opportunity for them because they'll get to learn everything from the farm.
I noticed that the level of conversation, the volume went higher and higher and higher. So obviously people are feeling very comfortable with having a good discussion about every aspect of what's happening on the producers' farms.
You're listening to it in the classroom, it's like, okay, but when you get to talk to the producer directly, it makes it way more interesting.
I just became more aware and appreciative of other commodities. Like, just from me being from an agriculture background, I was a little bit, arrogant in a sense that I thought I knew a lot of the things and there wasn't really much more to learn. But that was obviously really naive of me to say that.
So our biggest thing is like get those chicks off that truck and get them to food and get them to water because it's so critical to start a flock off well.
I actually don't do fence line weaning though. I use nose clips. So you put the nose clip in the calf's nose and then she can't nurse from the cow, but she's still right beside the cow the whole time, right?
I didn't know what to expect and I was pretty nervous about the process of talking to future employers or just producers of the industry that I could be working in. And they were amazing, like very down to earth and love to talk about what they do. And I'm interested in that. Like, I didn't grow up in an agricultural background, so this was very valuable to me.
These students actually wanted to learn, and they were really interested in what we had to talk about.
I think not being from an agriculture background, you see like on social media and stuff like farmers are monsters, like they don't care about their animals, and I feel like a lot of them, when you ask like what was most important to you, a lot of them were like welfare.
I felt that talking to the students, they were very capable to talk on our level, that there wasn't really a lot of miscommunication. Actually, I don't think I felt any miscommunication. They were very fluent in talking to us.
Our teaching team had sort of prepared for the scenario where there won't be anything to say, but there was so much to say and there was such a great community.
All of them participated and they had good questions and they were confident in asking those questions, definitely.
I asked them how can they just expand their farm. They say that it's hard because it's hard to find the genetics.
So if I was to tell you my favorite takeaways from the Rural Cafe, the first one would be seeing students who haven't said a word out loud in class talking through their coffee break to a producer by themselves.
Going into the animal health program, I was like so set. I'm like, I'm gonna be like a companion animal vet, and then seeing, like I never would have considered being a large animal vet or doing anything in agriculture, and then just listening to people who like love their job so much and it's not all about money. And yeah, it was interesting. Like now I'm like, oh, I wanna be a cow vet.
Yeah, help them to connect with us on that personal level. And maybe hear some things that aren't, from a textbook.
It was hard to stop a conversation with a producer because you got 5 more minutes and it was like, what? So many more questions.
When we gave people a 5-minute warning, we got unhappy faces. And then we told them 5 minutes later that time was up. We were ignored.
I think this is a model that could be used in so many different ways with a little twist here and there. It's not something that's limited by the type of industry that we're working with.
This Rural Cafe thing, we're using it in an introductory class, but I think it could work really well in a senior class. And it just depends who you bring in as the guest. So for example, if this was a senior poultry course and you brought in a hatchery expert, you brought in a hatching egg producer, you brought in a feed salesman, a banker, you know, a pharmaceutical salesman, all of a sudden these students would see what the real world's all like. And it's an inexpensive way of doing that. It costs us coffee and cookies. It's going to make teaching more difficult for me, because before I could fake sheep production and say I knew something about sheep and teach it, but now after people have spent time with a sheep producer, I've got to take it way more seriously and make sure that I'm as up to date as they are. I'm okay with that though.